She woke me up at 6 a.m. with the sound of metal scraping the ground. At first, I thought it was construction nearby, but when I stepped outside, my jaw locked. Three men with orange vests were digging a trench around my property line, and standing there with a clipboard like she owned the neighborhood was Linda, the HOA president everyone feared but no one dared to confront. I shouted, "What the hell are you doing on my land?" She didn't even look at me, just smirked and said, "We're improving drainage, you should be thanking us." I walked closer. The trench ran deep like a moat, cutting off my driveway, my mailbox, even the path to my garage. My truck was trapped inside. "You're digging on my property," I said again, slower this time. She finally turned, her sunglasses sliding down her nose. "Actually, this is community land, and according to HOA rules, you can't alter or access it without approval. Don't worry, we'll send you the bill." The workers kept digging, my fists clenched. "You're trespassing," I said. "You need to stop now." Linda pulled out her phone. "If you threaten me, I'll call the cops. In fact," she started dialing, "you can explain it to them." She called the police on me while standing in my yard. I didn't argue, I didn't shout, I just smiled, turned around and walked back inside. She laughed behind me, thinking she'd won. What she didn't know was that every inch of that trench, every man she'd brought, every word she'd said, was being recorded on my security cameras. As I watched the footage live on my monitor, I muttered under my breath, "Keep digging, Linda, you're burying your own case." The cops showed up 15 minutes later, two cruisers, lights flashing like it was some kind of crime scene. Linda stood there waving her clipboard, acting like a victim. "That's him," she said, pointing at me. "He threatened us while we were fixing the HOA property." I stood calmly at my porch, coffee in hand. "Morning, officers," I said. "Mind stepping over the trench before you believe her." The younger cop frowned. "Sir, we got a report that you were interfering with HOA maintenance." "Maintenance?" I laughed. "They dug up half my yard without permission. Check the boundary stakes, those red markers, that's county property line, not HOA." Linda's smile tightened. "He's lying, this whole section belongs to the association, we have full rights." "Then show them the deed," I said. She froze for half a second, then crossed her arms. "I don't carry paperwork everywhere." I took a slow sip of coffee. "Good thing I do." I walked inside and came back with a folder. "County records 2012, property lines verified, that trench is 10 feet inside my land." The cops exchanged looks. One leaned over the trench, measuring with his boot. "Ma'am, this is clearly within his fence posts." Linda's voice sharpened. "You don't understand, he's been a problem since he moved here. He built that fence illegally." The officer sighed. "Ma'am, unless you can prove that, this looks like trespassing." Linda's face turned red. She started mumbling about HOA policies, calling someone on her phone, probably her lawyer or someone pretending to be one. I didn't interrupt, I just walked to the side gate and pointed to a small pole on my porch. "See that?" I said. "Security camera, everything you've done today is recorded in full HD." Linda froze again. The officer raised an eyebrow. "You have footage of them digging?" "Every second," I said, "including her threatening to bill me for vandalizing my own property." Linda dropped her phone slightly, her fake confidence cracked. Linda's voice trembled, but she forced a smile. "That footage means nothing, you can't just film people without their consent." The cop beside her chuckled. "Ma'am, he's filming on his property, perfectly legal." Her lips twitched. "Then I'll take this to the HOA board, we'll fine him, we'll sue if we have to." "Go ahead," I said quietly. "Make sure you spell your own name right on the report." The officers gave each other a look that said they'd seen enough. One turned to me. "Sir, we'll file a note about property damage, but this is civil for now. You might want to send her a cease and desist." "I already plan to," I said. They left, and for a few minutes it was silent, just the wind brushing through the pile of dirt they'd left behind. Then Linda snapped. "You think you're clever, don't you? You think you can humiliate me in front of my own neighborhood?" I didn't answer, I just walked to the edge of the trench looking at her workers who were now awkwardly packing up their shovels. "You should go," I told them, "you're trespassing." One of them whispered, "Ma'am, we didn't know it was private land." "Just go," she barked. They drove off, tires kicking up dust. Linda turned back to me with that snake-like grin again. "You'll regret this," she said. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." I gave her a slow smile. You're right, I don't, but the county office might. That night, I downloaded every clip from my cameras, 5 angles, full audio. I sent a copy to my lawyer friend just in case things got worse, but what caught my eye wasn't the digging or the shouting. It was something else, something in the background. In one clip, behind Linda's SUV, there was a second car parked on the side street. A white van with no plates and a man inside wearing the same orange vest as her workers. Only problem, I'd seen that guy before outside my gate 2 weeks ago taking pictures of my property. This wasn't about drainage. The next morning, I drove straight to the county record's office. The clerk there, an older guy named Frank, knew me from the renovation permits I'd filed months back. When I told him what happened, he frowned, typed a few things into his computer, then turned the monitor toward me. Here, he said, there's been no approved excavation in your area for months. I leaned closer, you're sure? Positive, and he paused, scrolling further. Someone tried to submit an emergency drainage permit last week under your address, but it was rejected because the documentation was fake. Fake. He nodded, different signature, and look at the contact number. He printed the form. The number listed under property representative wasn't mine, it was Linda's. I stared at the paper, my jaw tightened, so she forged it. Looks that way, Frank said quietly. You might want to get law enforcement involved. Oh, I plan to. When I got home, the trench looked even deeper than before. Fresh dirt piles, new footprints, my gate was cracked open, someone had been here while I was gone. I rushed to check the footage again, heart pounding. At 10:42 a.m., the white van returned. 2 men climbed out, same ones as yesterday. They weren't digging this time, they were carrying metal stakes and cables. They were wiring something into the ground. And standing beside them, directing every move, was Linda. She pointed toward my house, said something I couldn't hear, and the men laughed. One of them kicked my fence before driving off. I froze the frame and zoomed in. The equipment they'd installed wasn't drainage, it was electrical wiring, running straight toward the main line by my driveway. Whatever this was, it wasn't about HOA rules anymore, it was sabotage. That night, I called my brother, retired military engineer. I told him what I'd found. He was silent for a few seconds, then said, "Don't touch those wires, I'll be there by morning." By sunrise, my brother's truck rolled up the dirt road, the same one Linda had tried to block with that trench. He climbed out, scanned the mess, and whistled low. Damn, she wasn't digging for drainage, she was planting evidence. Evidence for what? I asked. He crouched near the half-buried wires, brushing off the dirt carefully. See this insulation? It's from a signal cable. These are used for power meters or surveillance, not utilities. My stomach twisted. You mean she was trying to bug my property? He looked up, eyes narrowing. Either that or set you up for power theft. If someone reports a live line tied into your meter, you'd look guilty. I felt my blood heat. She's framing me. He stood, pulling out his phone. You still got that footage? Every second. Good, save it in 3 copies and don't confront her yet. Let's make her dig her own hole. We spent the morning collecting every cable, every shovel mark, every footprint. My brother photographed it all, his old army discipline kicking in. By noon, he had a full report ready, timestamps, footage links, and his expert analysis. At exactly 2 p.m., Linda showed up again, this time dressed to impress. She had 2 men with her, both in suits carrying briefcases. She marched up to the trench like she was leading a parade. Mr. Cooper, she said, voice loud enough for the neighbors to hear, you've violated multiple HOA regulations, including illegal wiring. My inspectors confirmed it this morning. I laughed out loud. Your inspectors? You mean the same guys who were sneaking around with cables? The taller man adjusted his tie. Sir, we're from the HOA Compliance Department. We have photographic evidence of unauthorized installations connecting to the main grid. I turned the tablet in my hands toward them. The screen showed Linda from just 12 hours ago ordering those exact cables to be buried. The audio was clear as day. Linda's face drained of color. That's not real, that's edited. My brother stepped forward. Ma'am, I'm a licensed electrical engineer and former military investigator. You want to test that theory in front of county authorities? She took a step back, her voice cracking. You can't threaten me. I don't need to, I said, tapping the screen again, because I already sent everything to the sheriff's office this morning. For the first time, Linda didn't have a comeback. The men beside her exchanged glances, then quietly walked back to their car. Linda's SUV sat at the curb for a full minute after her inspector's Bielade engine running, but no one getting out. Through my front window, I could see her gripping the steering wheel, staring at my house like it had personally insulted her. Then slowly, she drove off, no honk, no words, just silence. My brother raised an eyebrow. That's not her giving up, that's her regrouping. He was right. 2 hours later, a county sheriff's SUV rolled into my driveway. This time it was the real sheriff, Deputy Mills, a man who knew my father from back when we built this house. He stepped out, nodded at me, then glanced at the trench. "Heard you've been busy," he said. I showed him the footage, the forged permit, the wiring. He barely spoke as he watched, his jaw tightening more with every frame. "She forged a permit under your address?" he finally asked. "Yep," I said, and tried to frame me for power theft. Mills exhaled sharply through his nose. "That's felony fraud and criminal trespass. You mind if we take this to the DA?" "Not at all," I said. He called in another unit. Within 20 minutes, a patrol car was parked a block down, discreet but ready. Mills told me not to go anywhere. He wanted a warrant to search the HOA office. I didn't have to wait long. Just before dusk, Linda returned, this time with more bravado. She strutted up to my gate with her clipboard again, pretending like nothing had happened. "Mr. Cooper," she said sweetly, "we've decided to let you settle this matter quietly. If you pay the HOA fine of $25,000, we'll restore your access and forget about the wiring." I stepped out onto the porch slowly, holding my phone. "Say that again." She smiled wider. $25,000, consider it a settlement. I tilted my phone, letting the record button glow red. "Got it." That's when Mills and two deputies stepped out from behind my truck. "Ma'am," Mills said, his voice low and steady, "step away from the property and put the clipboard down." Linda spun around. "What is this?" "You're under arrest for fraud, criminal trespass, and attempted extortion," Mills said, "hands where we can see them." For a heartbeat, she froze, then she tried to run. One of the deputies was faster, grabbing her arm before she even reached the street. Her clipboard hit the dirt, papers fluttered into the trench she dug. I walked to the edge and watched as they cuffed her. "Guess you really did dig your own hole," I said quietly. The neighborhood watched from their porches as Linda was led away, screaming about her rights and corruption. Her voice echoed down the street, but no one moved to help her, not this time. For years, she'd bullied everyone here, fined them for flowers that were too bright, threatened to tow cars that parked half an inch off the curb, and claimed she had special permissions from the county. Turns out, all she really had was a taste for control. When the patrol cars pulled away, quiet finally settled in. My brother leaned against the fence, arms crossed. "Think she'll actually see jail time?" "Probably not long," I said, "but long enough for everyone to see who she really was." That night, I sat on the porch replaying the footage again, frame by frame. The lights from the trench reflected off the wet soil, and for the first time I noticed something new, a second clipboard. When Linda was arguing earlier that morning, one of her inspectors had dropped a binder marked HOA Property Expansion Project. I opened the file the next day and my blood ran cold. The plans showed boundary lines, expanded ones that stretched 20 feet into 5 different homeowners' yards. It wasn't just me. She'd been planning to redraw the entire neighborhood and sell portions of private land as community space. No wonder she'd fought so hard. This wasn't about drainage or fines, it was about profit. I called Mills again, sent him the file. Within hours, he told me the county DA had added another charge, attempted land fraud, and that investigators were contacting the other homeowners she'd targeted. One by one, they came to my house, shocked, angry, but grateful. For once, the neighborhood wasn't divided. The old man from across the street, Mr. Daniels, shook my hand. "She scared all of us for years, we just didn't think anyone could stop her." I nodded. "She picked the wrong guy to dig around." A week later, county crews filled the trench, restoring the land back to its original line. My brother helped me plant a small row of maple saplings right over the spot. "Better roots than rumors," he joked. As we packed up, a kid on his bike stopped nearby. "Hey mister, is it true you caught the HOA lady on camera?" I smiled. "Sure did." A month passed. The neighborhood looked different, quieter. People waved again. Kids rode bikes past my house without their parents whispering, "Don't stop there." Even the air felt lighter now that Linda's constant shadow wasn't hanging over every mailbox and lawn. But peace never stays simple. One evening, just as the sun dipped behind the trees, I got a call from Deputy Mills. His tone was calm, but off. "You might want to check your mailbox," he said. "Something came through the evidence department today, addressed to you." I walked out front. Sure enough, there was a thick brown envelope sitting in my box. No postage, no return address, just my name written in sharp, blocky handwriting. Inside were printed photos, grainy night shots of my property. Angles I didn't recognize. Some were from high up, like from a drone. One picture showed me and my brother standing by the trench weeks ago. Another showed Mills' patrol car outside my gate. But the last photo made my stomach twist. Linda, sitting behind a desk in a holding cell, smiling, holding up a handwritten note. 4 words. "This isn't over yet." I stared at it for a long minute. My brother came up behind me. "What's that?" I handed him the picture. He frowned. "How the hell did she get someone to take that? She's supposed to be in county lockup." "She must have had help," I muttered. "Someone on the outside." The next day, I installed 2 more cameras, higher up, motion tracking, infrared. My brother wired them into a local drive, not the cloud. "If she or anyone else comes back," he said, "we'll know." But what neither of us noticed right away was the new construction sign a few blocks down, fresh posts, bright paint, and at the bottom, a familiar name, Linda Properties LLC. She wasn't coming back to my yard, she was expanding. That night, I looked out across the street at the newly filled trench and whispered to myself, "She's not done digging."